Hello friends, welcome to my channel English Literature. Today's lecture about Epithalamion. It is an ode written by Edmund Spenser as a gift to his bride Elizabeth Boyle on their wedding day in 1594. In Greek, Epithalamion means marriage song. Originally published with his sonnet sequence Amaranthe in 1595. It is one of the most beautiful wedding hymn in any language and also the first wedding poem of English literature. It was published by William Ponson. There are 24 stanzas and 365 lines in the poem. 24 stanzas represent the hours of midsummer day and 365 lines represent the year leading up to Spenser's wedding day. Those 24 stanzas are the 24 hours in a day and 365 lines are every day in a year. The first 16 stanzas are the daytime and the last 8 are the night time. The rhyme scheme is A B A C C D E D E F E. The most of the poem contain Greek mythology. Now I'll give you stanza wise explanation of 24 stanzas. So let's get started. Stanza first. The groom's call opened the muses to inspire him to properly sing the praises of his beloved bride. He claimed he will sing to himself as Orpheus did for his own bride. Orpheus is an allusion to that hero's luring of his bride's spirit from the realm of dead using his beautiful music. The groom too hopes to awaken their bride from slumber, leading her into the light of their wedding day. Now stanza second. Before the break of day, the groom urged the muses to head to his beloved bower there to awaken her. Hymn, god of marriage, is already awoke, and so too should the bride arise. So if god of marriage is ready and groom is ready, then he accepts his bride to make herself ready as well. The focus is one, the sanctity of the wedding day. This occasion itself should urge the bride to come celebrate it as soon as possible. The stanza 3. The groom instructs the muses to summon all the nymphs they can to accompany them to the bridal chamber. On their way, they are gathered all the fragrant flowers they can and decorate the path leading from the bridal bower, where the marriage is to take place, in the door of bridegroom. These flowers to make a path beautiful. Now let's move to the stanza 4. Addressing the nymphs, groom asks them to make the wedding day perfect. The nymphs of water loose to make sure that water is clear and unmolested lively fish, so that they can see their own reflection in it. Nymphs of mountain and woods who keep deer safe from the wolf should exercise their skill in keeping the same wolves away from the bride this wedding day. It means that he wants to prevent all his disobedience, hints and misfortune. Here wolves symbolizes Irish resistance groups. Stanza 5. The groom now addresses his bride directly, even she not present, to urge her to evoke sunrise birds and already singing the mythical figure of rosy dawn. Athens and Phoebus are her evoked to continue the classical motif of ode. Stanza 6. The bridal has finally awoke and her eyes linked to seen with their goly beams more bright than Hesperus. The groom urged the daughter of delight nymphs, still urged to attend to the bride. Spenser uses personification of time in the hours that make up day, night, and the season, and the Venus to attend the marriage as well. He urged the Venus to sing to her as they help her dress for her wedding. Now stanza 7. The bride is ready with her attendant virgin, so now it is time for the groomsman and the groom herself to prepare. The groom implored the sun to shine brightly but not hotly, lest it burn his bright fair skin. He then prayed to Phoebus, who is sun god and originator of the art, to give his one day of the year to him while keeping the rest for himself. He after to exchange his own poetry as an offering. Stanza 8. The moral wedding guest and entertainment move into action. Spencer shifts to the real world. He describes a typical Elizabethan wedding. The boys sang hymn is Hammond. Hammond can be traced back to Greece. Each one enjoy the song. The stanza 9. The groom behold his bride and compare her to Phoebe, means goddess of moon. He find her white attire so appropriate that she seems more angel than human. He praise her beauty. Now stanza 2. The groom asks the women who see his bride if they have even seen anyone so beautiful in their town. Then he lists all her virtues, starting with her eyes and eventually describing her whole body. He describes her whole body as a beautiful palace. Now stanza 11. The groom moves from the external beauty of the bride to her internal beauty. He claims to see better than anyone else. He praises her loveliness, sweetness, her chastity, her faith, her honor, and modesty. He said her true beauty astonished, like this who saw Medusa's maze full and were turned to stone. Stanza 12. The groom called for the doors to the temple to be opened, that his bride may enter in and approach the altar in reverence. Stanza 13. The bride stands before the Atlas as the priest offers his blessing upon her and upon the marriage. She blesses to give him her hand in marriage. Stanza 14. Now wedding is over and the groom asks that the bride to be brought home again and the celebration to start. Now stanza 15. The groom reiterates his affirmation that his day is holy and calls everyone to celebrate by identifying the exact day of the wedding, June 20 summer solstice. He regrets that it is the longest day of the year and so his nighttime nuptial bliss will be delayed all the longer. Now stanza 16. The groom continues his frustrated complaint that the day is too long, but grow hopeful as at long last the evening begins its arrival. He is eager to be alone with his bride and so evoke the evening stars to lead the bride and groom to their bedchamber. Stanza 17. The groom urges the singers and dancers to have the wedding but take the bride to her bed as they depart. He is eager to be alone with his bride and compare the sight of her laying in bed to that of Maya, his mountain goddess, with whom Jesus convenes Hermes is. So legend a child conceived on the summer solstice would grow into prosperity and wisdom. So the connection to the specific day of the wedding cannot be ignored. Now stanza 18. Finally night was come. The groom asked night to cover and protect them. He compared them to mythological Zeus' affair with alchemy and his affair with night herself. Cheme was a daughter of Pleiades and thought Zeus became the mother of Hercules. The focus has shifted away from the bride or the act of consummation to the potential child that may come of his union. Stanza 19. The groom prayed that no evil spirit or bad thought would reach the newlyweds this night. The entire stanza is a list of possible danger he pleaded to leave them alone. Stanza 20. The groom bids silence to prevail and sleep to come. When it is the proper time, he hopes to enjoy his first night with his bride as much as possible. Stanza 21. The groom Spencer noticed Cynthia, the moon peering thought his wisdom and prayed to her for a favorable wedding night. He asked her to remember her own love of the Latman shepherds Endymion, a union that eventually produced 50 daughters, the phases of the moon. She specifically calls a successful conception and makes his bride womb fertile this night. So, next one is 22 stanza. The groom adds more deities to his list of patrons. He asks stone wife of Zeus and goddess of marriage to make their union strong and sacred, then turns her attention towards making it fruitful. Stanza 23. The groom utters an all encompassing prayer to all the gods in the heaven that they might bless this marriage. He then encourages his bride to rest in hope of their becoming parents. Now last stanza was 24 stanza. The groom addressed his song with the charge to be godly ornament for his bride, whom he felt deserved many physical ornament as well as time was too short to procure this outward decoration for his beloved. So the groom hopes his ode will be an endless monument to her. Thank you for watching this channel.